The Disability and Business Technical Assistance Centers welcome you to the Disability Law Lowdown ASL podcast series. Show 11, ADA Amendments Act. Hello, and welcome to the Disability Law Lowdown ASL podcast. My name is Lori Mallory, and I am one of your hosts for this ASL podcast. We're happy you found us, and we hope you enjoy this podcast series. Today's podcast is about the ADA Amendments Act, or ADAAA. On January 1st, 2009, the new law went into effect. Laws can be changed or amended, because sometimes when courts decide cases, their decisions either limit the law or expand it in ways Congress never intended. In the case of the ADA, the Supreme Court had made several decisions that limited the number of people who were covered by the ADA. They narrowed the definition of disability in two important ways, one of which impacted the deaf and hard of hearing community. The definition of disability in the ADA is a physical impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activities. Only being deaf or hard of hearing might not be enough if it doesn't substantially limit a life activity. The definition of substantially was significantly restricts. Often, courts might decide there was an impairment, but it wasn't severe enough to significantly restrict. So in that case, the person might not be covered by the ADA. The other way that the ADA definition changed was that the Supreme Court said that when deciding if a person has a disability, the court must look at how bad the impairment is. By looking at mitigating measures. Mitigating measures are anything that makes the person's disability appear less severe. For example, if a hard of hearing person can't really hear without their hearing aids, but when they wear their hearing aids can hear well, that changes their measure of disability. The courts would look at that person and the difference their hearing aid makes, and not consider them to have a disability under the ADA. Congress thought the same thing. You are probably thinking right now, that doesn't make sense. So last year, Congress decided to amend the ADA by passing the ADA Amendments Act, the ADAAA. It says that from now on, the courts must interpret the definition of disability more broadly to include more people. For example, anyone with a disability, deaf, hard of hearing, a hard of hearing person with hearing aids, without hearing aids, under the ADAAA, the courts may not consider mitigating measures. When deciding if a person has a disability under the ADA. That means the courts must decide if a person has a disability based on the disability alone, and not how the characteristics of the disability can be improved by using things like hearing aids or glasses. The ADA was first passed in 1990 and was a comprehensive civil rights law for people with disabilities. But after a while, most cases were just about whether the person met the definition of disability, rather than access, accommodation, or effective communication. Now, with the ADA Amendments Act, Congress has returned the ADA to how it was always intended to be. Want to know more? Visit asl.disabilitylawlowdown.com. I hope you enjoyed watching this ASL video podcast. You can subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. You can subscribe for free through iTunes, or by going to asl.disabilitylawlowdown.com. The Disability Law Lowdown is sponsored by the Disability and Business Technical Assistance Centers, or DIBTAC, a network of 10 ADA centers around the country. The ADA centers provide training and technical assistance on the Americans with Disabilities Act and other disability-related laws. If you have questions or would like more information, call 1-800-949-4232. And that's voice or TTY. The ADA centers are funded by a grant from NIDR. Thank you. Host, Lori Mallory. Script and writer, Jackie Brennan. Editor and videographer, Beth Case. Sponsored by the ILRU Southwest, Rocky Mountain, and Great Lakes DIBTAC ADA Centers, produced by Decker Labs.